David here with David L Lessons. So today we're going to be discussing the differences between a wrist stroke, or what I like to call a rebound wrist stroke, because it's primarily a wrist movement that creates the stroke, and we're going to be comparing that to a basic Moeller stroke. Okay, so let's start with the Moeller stroke. So Moeller can mean a lot of different things, but one thing that stands out to me is the whip. And I think the whip is what is essential to a Moeller stroke. So whip motion. So if I just do that in my hand, you can see it's similar to throwing a baseball or throwing any object. There's your upstroke and there's your downstroke. So wrist goes into flexion, right? And then there's an extension and a flexion all in the same moment. So we put the stick in our hand and we do that same motion, and that's what we tend to get. So sometimes when I'm working with a student, I've noticed that if I break it down too much, it's kind of hard to grasp. But if we just start doing that and we start thinking about throwing it down like we're whipping it down, we can start getting this very basic Moeller-esque movement, where I'm allowing the wrist to break or the wrist to go into flexion. Now let's look at a regular wrist stroke. We don't have as much flexion of the wrist. In the Moeller, we're really using more arm movement, more body movement to produce that whipping downstroke. And that's where sometimes we get those accents from in the whip. Again, wrist strokes. Now you can get plenty of accents with wrist strokes too, but it's a different technique, which I'll discuss in another video. Today we're just solely looking at the difference of a wrist stroke and a Moeller stroke. So let's go into a couple different examples that we can do. Alright, so after you're feeling comfortable with that first exercise I just demonstrated, we could now do a whole, say, 50 count of Moeller. And I'll demonstrate that in a second, but I just want to show you a little bit of detail in terms of the fulcrum. Now we can tighten up that fulcrum and do Moeller, or we can have a really loose fulcrum and do Moeller as well. And you've probably seen it both ways at this point. From my experience, the tighter fulcrum is possibly better for, faster movements, and the looser one could be utilized in other ways. So you probably want to experiment with both fulcrum, having, tight fulcrum where the fingers are nice and snug. Never want to do a death grip. We always want to be loose in our body to be able to enable the stick to do its magic. Okay, so let's try this second exercise. We'll do a 50 count. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 30, 40,